Hello and welcome to the Barcast. I'm your host, Nick Barr. It's been a while since we last streamed, but we're back and hopefully the audio is okay and the setup is okay. I'll take a look at it afterwards. It's been a while, but let's just jump right into it. I'm giving myself a little bit more time today, 15-10 increment. And let's see what my opponent wants to do here. 1498, so highly rated player, and I'm going for the Danish Gambit, which is one of my go-to moves as white. I've been spending some time with Daniel Naroditsky's videos and I found them really helpful. And I'm also sort of working on the practice of reflection in action, that is like thinking about what I'm doing while I'm doing it. It's so important in chess, and I think chess is a particularly good domain to practice this sort of habit. So I'll do my best to do that. So this is the Danish Gambit accepted, and white is down 2 pawns at this point in exchange for tremendous kind of kingside pressure with the bishops there. This is a very normal response for black. And, the knight wants to move either here or here. And I think you could do either, but I tend to put the knight on c3, which I think is preferred. But I mean, already you can see I'm kind of like thinking out loud. This isn't automatic for me. But the reason, we want to leave the D file free is so that the queen can be mobile. Now at this point, the queen is threatening, and we could defend with the pawn. And that might be fine, but that leaves open a response from the queen here that we might not want to get into. And so I think it's more standard and preferred to put the queen on e2 to defend. And that's what I'm going to do. I've got my mouse going, which is exciting. So you can see I'm drawing lots of arrows. And so what is the idea here? This doesn't seem like a position where I'm going to immediately capitalize on my sacrifice pieces. I'm just going to develop a lot faster. So unless my opponent blunders, and so far they're playing well and they're a high ranking opponent, I have no reason to assume that they are going to blunder. This is sort of just a matter of being patient and not rushing to recoup my investment. So let's see what black wants to do. I'm thinking about moving pawn to a3 to pressure the bishop. I'm thinking about castling, developing my knight. And then I'm thinking about putting pressure on f7. I think f7 is sort of the square to put pressure on in this position. Okay, my opponent has played knight to c6. It's funny, the board is so big to me. I'm used to playing on my phone, and it's like I almost have to sort of go back with my eyes to take the whole board in. I think that's just sort of like development. There's not a lot to say. It doesn't seem to really change my plans much. I'm keen to castle so that I can start to move this c3 knight. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. Pressuring my bishop, pressuring black's bishop to go backward doesn't really serve me, obviously. And so I just think the sooner that I can castle, the better. We'll need to watch for time. Obviously, getting my knight on d5 would be a really nice square for it. Putting pressure on the queen and the bishop. And then additionally, once I move my knight, I'll be threatening g7. So I'm really excited to do that, and we'll see what my opponent does to try to prevent that from happening. I think one mistake that black can make, just as white can make the mistake of trying to recoup its sacrificed pieces early, I think black can make a mistake trying to save its pieces. You're up 2 pawns, so you don't have to go crazy trying to save every piece. Some level of loss should be expected. So the knight is threatening 2 pieces. Both pieces are defended. So I could just ignore this attack. And I indeed might do that. On the other hand, I could take with the knight. And after queen recaptures, there are some interesting options here. So if queen is there, I can go ahead and castle, and then some interesting threats are available to me. So I think I might go ahead and do that. I'm going to take, and then I'm going to castle. Well, I'm not going to castle because now the queen is, the knight is double threatened. So we need to tend to that first. And I think I'm going to go ahead and do that with my rook. And yeah, I mean, I might have erred a little bit there. So we'll analyze the game after this, but I did sort of, would you say I lost the tempo? Let's see. Not exactly, but I'm definitely not in a more threatening position than I was before, as far as I can tell. I still have some exciting tricks up my sleeve if I'm able to castle. Until I castle, I'm kind of a little bit hemmed in here. But yeah, now I'll have my chance to castle because adding an attacker here doesn't really make a huge difference. I don't think. I mean, okay, so let's see. If I just castle, then bishop can take. Then after bishop takes, bishop recaptures. Queen takes. Queen takes back. And after knight takes, I do have this attack here. However, after rook threatens, it's not really clear to me that I like that position at all. So I might want to continue to slow play this, actually. Now this move isn't looking so bad to me. And I might actually take it. Let's go ahead and do that. Don't like my position at all, but I don't think I'm lost or anything like that. I would say maybe black is up a point is what I would guess, and we'll check back. Move 11. I think black is up a point. We'll see. Now queen can threaten here, but I am defending. Something to watch out for. I do want to castle. And I imagine black does too. And so black might go ahead and castle. Which would sort of be fine. I don't think we're any longer trying to do quick tactics to attack f7. We'll find out if I missed any, but I think black has played well so far. And I don't think I really had an opportunity to go after that piece. Sometimes you'll see king take and then, knight threatened from this square, exposing something for the queen, etc., etc. The clock is a little bit jumpy. I'm not sure if there's some latency issues. Okay, so castling continues to be elusive, but now there's this added threat on the bishop, which is not comfortable at all. I'm tempted at this point to press on the attack with let's see, is there anything interesting about now pressing with the pawn? Not really. I might even just want to move the knight at the king at this point. That would be kind of interesting. And if I do that, I can potentially just start to kind of get some things going. Or another option to me is just to press here. And I think I'm gonna go ahead and do that. That also sort of, I think he wants to push here, and that's now no longer possible. So that's another reason why I like this pawn move. Had I not done that, let's say had I just moved the king, then maybe this move is coming. Okay, so he's still finding a way to pressure, but I think that's fine. I don't think I'm really bothered by that. I could move my knight one more now to tack there. I could also start to get my queen more involved than she has been. Then after this defense here, well, why don't we do this move first? No, wait. Because I am still getting double threatened here. So that is not an option. I've got to tend to that. I don't like the way I'm sort of being, I don't like how much pressure is being exerted on c3 here. But that queen is so powerful that unless I were to take, then I could move over after queen takes. I'm still inclined to do this. Let's see what happens. See, there's something I did there that wasn't great that I want to notice for myself, which is sometimes I think a lot and then I sort of say, okay, well, I got to do this, and then I just do it. And there's some sort of QA that should happen right before the release of the mouse click that I'd like to get better at. So now I am pressuring this knight, and it has to be defended. So I assume he'll play pawn to c6, which kind of just gives me a little bit of breathing room to ask myself what I'd like to do. And I think what I'd like to do is move the king at this point. However, if I move the king at this point, then after knight takes, check, bishop takes, bishop takes. Okay, but that does expose... That does potentially expose an attack on the queen, and I'm excited about that. I do need to go a little bit faster. So let me just think before moving here. That would be a problem because after knight check, that's very uncomfortable for me. So I do want to move here rather than here. Yeah, okay. I don't actually want to pre-move. That's a little bit scary. So let's see what happens next. I think he'll just be happy to trade off some pieces. Again, I think he's playing very well, or they're playing very well. They're from Azerbaijan. But I'm kind of hoping that after all this sorts out, I do have some sort of exposed attack on the queen, and now my rooks are connected. That's sort of a nice side effect of having moved up to the second rank. And let's see what my opponent does from here. We do have 10-second increments, so I need to be conscious of the time, but I don't need to completely worry about it. Sorry that the angles are a bit weird here. I'm looking at my monitor and I have my hand for the mic, but I'm using the webcam from my laptop, so it's all a little bit funky. I'm not completely locked in, am I? Okay, so what could happen here? I think he's just going to trade off. He could move here, but queen would take without any issue for me. I'm also defending the square now with my king. I think this is a very important move for me. As I look at it more, I think I only had one good move, and I think I made it, as chess.com would say. And I think now he really does have to take. Maybe he's debating whether to take with what piece. Maybe he's trying to avoid taking because he feels like his position is so good and he actually doesn't want to trade off. But I'm excited to see kind of where this went wrong. I think I'm maybe down a point and a half now at this point because I just haven't manifested any compensation for my sacrifices. In fact, I'm about to sort of trade off two pieces. So we're almost like approaching the end game and I don't have anything to show for my sacrifices. So not a great opening by me. And yet like, I don't know when it was exactly that I blundered or if I blundered. Okay. So, interesting. So he's retreating. This is where I want to get crafty. So I do want to think a little bit about this move. So after king takes, check. It's not really feeling that threatening to me at this point. So I might back off of that idea. That said, this piece is being threatened twice. Now, I could do this. That's not a move because it's not being defended. Yeah, so just very good defense. And really more than anything at this point, now I'm just keen to defend my bishop. I'm just giving another look at this bishop attack. What else is being threatened? Okay, I'm going to go ahead and defend. withdraw, remove myself from the situation. This does now create some revealing threats here. Unfortunately, this is not clear. I need to move my pawn again. I would like to start being a little attacking. I'm running out of time and opportunities to do something. Bishop to d4 is kind of interesting. There might even be some ways to sort of corner the queen, although right now this diagonal is open. If he castles at some point, this diagonal becomes interesting. I'm trying to look for diagonals. Places to pin. I just don't have a good square for my knight right now, except maybe, well, no, that's not true. I mean, for instance, I could move my knight here. Because after, and maybe I should have, maybe that was the mistake. Because I didn't have the, right. Yeah, I think I should have done that a move earlier. And I want to be careful about doing it now just because I can. I mean, it has the advantage of opening up 2 more attacks. It has the disadvantage of... so maybe this is a nicer square for it. But then after pawn takes... yeah, I don't think that's promising at all. Okay, so let's just go ahead and move forward with it. But I mean, he's got plenty of places to retreat to. And I've been working hard not to get my bishops off the board, but this bishop is just so strong here. That's a little surprising as a move, but it seems like a good one. It seems like a really good one. And I think I have to, wow. You know, I kind of only am now seeing this threat of this diagonal, so it's making me pause a little bit just to think about how to maneuver that, or if that's possible. In the meantime, I do have this pretty serious threat here, but I think, I mean, this is coming. Just gotten totally destroyed. Well, sorry, no, this is possible because the bishop is defending this pawn. So after queen, Yeah, I think this is the smarter move. I'll have to just lose a lot of material. Or not lose, but we're going to trade off a lot of material. As far as I can tell. Maybe he has a clever way of even taking more from me here. This is going to be a pretty interesting... I do think I missed this move early. Oh, right, because now the queen is defended. No, I'm fine. Wow, I'm actually not fine at all, huh? Wow. We have this. I'm just kind of like freewheeling now. You could probably play that and get away with it. He's up 5 now, so he does that. Not afraid to... No, that's not what we're doing. We're coming back. So he somehow won even more material off me there. Pretty brutal. And now I just have nothing to threaten with. Except for some pawns, which I will do. I'm not going to resign, but I might play a little bit faster. Oh man, now he's got that square. So, but I'll defend. It's not as bad as it looks, but I did totally miss it. I guess I'm losing more material here. I can just go ahead and do that at least. It's one thing I can do. And then I can defend. So yeah, there could have been a move to what is it, knight to a4 earlier. But I don't think I spotted the various blunders that got me into this mess. Probably now pawn here. And then I'll need to circle back. But then after bishop here, then I'm in a really bad spot. If I have any hope at all, which I don't really, need to get my both my rooks activated. But I mean, I'm just losing. Don't think that there's much to really do at this point. And maybe that's humiliation enough for me. Yeah, I don't know if I need to continue. I trust that my opponent would be able to checkmate me well. So I think I'm going to resign. All right. let us have, well played by my opponent, for sure. So let's look at the game review. I think I'm yet to win a match on stream, which is pretty incredible. Oh, I did something very bad. But I clearly had my chances, and so I'm excited to look at the match. So all standard stuff there. That's the right move. I had talked about that. That's considered, I think, an inaccuracy or a mistake. Let's see. It's good. That's right, and this is considered best. That's right. Yeah, I've rarely done that, but that is true. That but I mean they're very similar moves, so fine. So this is a mistake. Okay, that's interesting because I did not think of it as a mistake. So knight e2 is not a mistake. But after bishop takes this piece and I take this piece, what's stopping the queen from taking back? That's a blunder because then I'm going to go ahead and do this. But is it a blunder? I mean, queen can do this. And so it actually wants me to castle. But I mean, the idea of it is this is coming. And e7. Now castle. And I guess just the idea there is like I'm very threatening. I guess c1 is coming, etc. Okay. Let's, how do I hop out of this? So, a lot of moves are better than queen to e2 there. So it's good for me to keep that in mind. And the reason that I shouldn't really be worried about losing this pawn is because of the threat there. So that is, the strength of this move is actually something that I missed, which is if you are going to just like let, oh, right, and e2 is especially good, right? So you actually want to do something. Well, so f3, that seems like it's also good for me, but after, no, it's an inaccuracy. Yeah, so just don't do it. Protect the check. Okay. I rarely check a game this carefully, so this is fun. So that was an inaccuracy. Take back. That was an inaccuracy. Interesting. Well, yeah, of course, because wait, but this is not the game. How do I go back to the game, the actual game that we're playing? Okay. Mistake. That was a 2-point mistake. D6 would have sort of forced the issue more, I guess. That was a mistake. And that was a bad mistake. So they just went from winning by 1.5 points to losing by 1.5 points. Um, better to castle there. We thought about not doing anything, but it's a pretty subtle difference. So my advantage here, what is my advantage to be capitalized? That was a good move. And he's made another mistake. So I'm up by 2 points at this point. And somewhere along the lines, I did not see where my advantage was. So that was a miss. Yeah. And it wanted me to castle. And again, I got, I'll have to go back and remember why I felt the need to defend the pawn here. Why didn't I castle? Castling is the move. You've got to make it. And I wanted to castle. I guess I was still worried about after bishop takes. You know, if I castle, I was worried about bishop takes. I've lost my defender. Queen takes. Queen has to take. And so, yeah, I mean, that's what that shows the line. X e4 check, knight e4 check. Yeah, so there's just some pressure there, and his knight is gonna fall. And now we're even in material, and I'm way up in. So it's just the threat of pinning somebody here is what I have going for me when I castle. So that's why he's showing lines where that doesn't happen. Okay. Good to know. But that's not what I did. That was a big miss. And so moving the king would have been slightly better there. Probably would have been hard for me to work up the courage to do that, although I had considered it. And there was another mistake by me here. I needed to attack the knight. So that was a good spot. That was, yeah, there was really a key move there. So I'm glad I spotted that. And then he makes a blunder here. That is a blunder. And so can I see? And so b5 is the move here. Because after b5, you know, if he takes, then I'm about to take his queen. So he's going to do e7, but then I'm actually going to take there. And that's a great move. So the tactic here is, yeah, this is a great game to explore. He can't take, he can't defend, so he just goes here. Then I finally can cash in my reward. Okay, that's right. Let's do f8. Assuming I take, he takes. We're even to material. f4 is coming. Yeah, so at this point I'm having a good game. Okay. So that was a really key move, but I missed it. That was an inaccuracy. A3 would have been better. Yeah, and then that was a big mistake. At that point, king to f2 was the move. But you know, at this point I'm down 8 points, and that's the game. All right, you know what? Let's do another one. Let's have some fun. We'll do one more game. See if we can incorporate any of these learnings if we get to play as white, and then we'll call it. Okay, we're playing as black. This is like a non-standard opening, as far as I know. Find out what the name of it is. Slav defense, I think. Yeah. So maybe, I mean, certainly heard of the Slav defense. So I guess it is a standard opening. It's really kind of ugly, but what I'm trying to do is like just transpose into Caro-Kann, something that I know better. Oh, sorry, I completely zoned out there. So that was a mistake. Great. All right, let's try to focus. The reason it was a mistake is because I like to get the bishop out first. And now I just have this really awkward, very awkward opening. I just want to go ahead and move the knight again immediately if I can. If he moves his bishop, I won't be too unhappy about that. I kind of want to put pressure here if I'm able to. So I have ideas of bringing queen out, but I should probably be just thinking more defensively because of how badly I've started. That makes sense. He's defending. We'll go ahead and move out because I'm not really that worried about, like, this just gives me an excuse to do the defending that I already wanted to do anyway. That's why I moved that knight. I mean, that said, like, what am I going to do if that's coming? That's kind of just annoying. But then I'll come back here with an eye toward getting this outpost. So, yeah, let's see what my opponent wants to do here. Instead, my opponent wants to attack directly, which is fine. Now it's just a question of knight or bishop to defend first. And I think what I've typically done is with the knight, because I don't mind this pawn coming over, but there's something flawed about that. Of course, my opponent's going to want to bring their queen out, sort of put additional pressure on. And maybe that's the problem. I'm actually not sure what the problem is, or if there even is one. Not going to spend too much time thinking about this. If they do choose to take the bishops off the board, I can take with... Probably I'd rather take with my knight. Excuse me. Okay, that's interesting. I'm tempted to just pressure here. Seems good. If he checks now, That's clearly my only move. Just make this a little bit more cramped. He probably does need to take, otherwise he's just retreating all the way back. And then I need to take with my queen to defend the b7 square. I don't think my opponent is like super happy with their position right now. Probably about tied. Maybe they're a little bit better, but I don't think they've like capitalized on my early mistakes that well. And I think my mistakes were like reasonably minor, just kind of like a shaky opening. But I like to be aggressive, typically as black, and there's just nothing to speak of. Except, I guess, you know, if I can now continue to develop my queenside pawn, I might just sort of have a decent queenside attack here. So let's see what my opponent wants to do. You know, you wouldn't want this line, but the white squared bishop is off the board, so it's not nearly as threatening as it would have been otherwise. But still a little bit concerned. I'd like to castle. And to castle, I'd like to get my bishop to an active square. I don't have many squares that are really available to me. Now this is interesting. I don't really know why my opponent did that. I guess he wants to bring out the knight. You know, he has some ideas of that being good for him, but after queen takes, I don't really see what the threat is for me. So I think I'm just inclined to continue to develop, and I'm leaning toward this square to prevent his knight from. This is really nasty for me if his knight can get there, and I don't want him to do that. So I'm going to go ahead and move here. Now he's threatening this square, but I can kick him, and then I don't really know where his next move is. So still not feeling very threatened by my opponent. And I have more time, despite all my talking. I feel more locked in this game, more focused. He's probably going to castle, and I'd like to castle too, so I'm happy to do that. And I'm thinking about where to go. I mean, I just have one square that's open for me right now, and that's not a bad square to get to. I did originally want to get to this square. Okay, so that's interesting. So my opponent choosing to threaten here, which makes sense. I just don't. I mean, he's going to lose some pawn structure if I take. Alternately, I can take queen first. So it's just a question of how many pieces do I want to get off the board. And you know, he wants to get his knight from here to here. I won't have a bishop anymore. I'm just going to go ahead and take. Not feeling that worried about it. If he chooses to take the queen first, that's even better for me. He does. I'm kind of inclined now to, I'm leaning toward just knight to b6, but I could open up this first. I think I'm going to go ahead and do that. I'm still not worried about I keep feeling like something is like some trap is waiting for me here, but I think I'm fine. But he'll probably want to bring another piece in, and I'm almost worried of like, can I do what I need to do in time to... I'm worried about that move, but I think it's fine. The reason I did it as opposed to bringing the knight out first, I just felt uncomfortable about the exposed threat. So if my knight is sort of pinned, then when a castle really is pinned, and I just didn't want to deal with that. So now the queens aren't looking at each other anymore, and that I feel like serves my interests better. So that's why I did that move. Kind of have some ideas of pawn pushing forward. Okay, so he's sort of moving around now, but again, that doesn't feel so. Okay, so I can either castle or I can just start my threat here. Feels very sound to castle. Castling does not seem like a bad idea at all. He definitely wants to push here. But I can push too. Then he'll start to bring his knight around. So why don't I get my knight in the game and see how he wants to react to me threatening him for once. Because he has this move, but I can just ignore that and take, and then he's got to figure out what he wants to do with his queen. So let's see how aggressive my opponent wants to be. And lacking a good attack right away, then I can always just castle next. I think I still have time to castle safely. And I really like bringing my knight forward. Some threats are happening here. He could move his queen here now. That would be fine, but his queen is so much less threatening on this square than just bearing down on g7 like that. So I like my position. We seem like we're about equal, but I'm definitely threatening to capture this pawn, so I might be up like a half point. I think when I thought I was down a point before, I was actually like fluctuating a lot. Yeah, so what I said I would do is this, and I'm still thinking about doing it. Where is he going to flee to? He doesn't have that many squares. He has to go either here or here or here. So I guess it wouldn't really be accurate to say he doesn't have a lot of squares. If he goes to here or here, it's going to be messy. I'll tell you that much if I take this. But I am going to take. I'm gonna go ahead and do this, and let's just see what happens. I mean, so this is hard for me to. Maybe I should have spent more time calculating. I have 11 minutes, but the problem with this now for me is that if I let him occupy one of these two squares, he sort of is doing this double threat, right? And so if I move my pawn, if I move this knight, then this knight is exposed. And so what I need to do is I need to have conviction that I can bully the queen off of these squares with my pawns, which I think I should be able to do. So if he moves to the door's there. Okay, just a package. What I was saying is, yeah, so I mean, let's say he moves to, so he just didn't do that. Although the effect is similar, except he's made a fatal mistake, yeah, and he resigned having seen it. Good. We'll just analyze this quickly, not with the benefit of game review because I don't have a pro account. Let's see if there's anything interesting. Yeah, so that move sort of squanders some advantage already on his part. But fine. Yeah, I mean, it's not like no one is really impressing in this early part. They definitely don't like that queen move. They being the machine. Although already we're kind of basically even. But at this point now, it's like really even. It's just not that threatening. You know, like there's just not... I wonder if this move is any better. Yeah, I mean, at least at that point, you're kind of really putting a lot of uncomfortable pressure on. So a6 has to happen. And then takes, castles. And at this point, it's like they're way up on development. They're definitely looking better, although it's not like the advantage is significant. Anyway, okay, but that's just like not a square. They would a lot of good moves here. This move is fine, probably an inaccuracy. Queen takes. And now it's even worse, which makes sense, right? I mean, it's just like an even less threatening situation. And there's plenty of ways I can respond. I just continue my development. I think what worked well for me here is just I just ignored the non-threats of my opponent, right? So rather than reacting to my opponent, I was asking, like, is my opponent threatening me or not? And when I found that they weren't, I just went ahead and developed. And at this point, I'm up a point, which I think I had said. Was that a mistake? Let's see. They would like me to take at this point. Sure, and I could have, but I guess the point is like that gives my opponent an opportunity to put their queen on a much more threatening square, which they almost did. They liked f4 more, but whatever. Nothing earth-shatteringly bad there. And then that was another mistake. So, and I responded in the best possible way, which was sort of ignoring that threat. And they actually have the queen going all the way back. I'm just curious, like, I was looking at these moves of like the 5th rank. So for instance, like this is a bad mistake. Just have to check. F1 takes E2. I guess just it's just like, yeah, it's more about them having to move their knight. Their king. Similarly, right. So the key thing that I didn't see before when I was worried about one of these moves was that regardless of the move, this is coming as check. But I mean, okay, let's say, D3, and what about that? Yeah, I mean, it's all... c4. It's not good for my opponent. Fine. So, and right, so, and that was when my opponent lost the game. So the only, no, there are a few good squares for my opponent, but d1 would have protected against the check. All right, my first win.